Hi, I'm Dan Wells. I write horror, fantasy, and science fiction, and I talk about games on the internet. Today we are going to be looking at this one right there, the Conan RPG, but specifically the Gamemaster's Toolkit, which I don't have in PDF, so you get to look at a bunch of physical objects today, like some kind of a caveman. So Conan, I've talked about before, and it's a great system. It uses the Modifius 2D20 system, and it uses it in a way that replicates the feel, the tone, the style of old style Robert E. Howard Conan pulp adventure fiction. Uses it very well, in my opinion. And it's got a lot of fun stuff. One of the things I love about Conan in particular is that the Conan stories are so varied. They're so fast and they're so immediate. They were written out of order as he's just kind of telling different stories about his life. He was a thief, he was a mercenary, he was a warlord, he was a king, he was all these different things. And each story, you don't really know when or where it's going to start. And you pick it up and you're like, where was Conan last time? It doesn't matter where Conan was last time because it just begins in the middle of a brand new thing. And this game replicates that in a cool way. Anyway, so first we've got this big, enormous Gamemaster screen, okay? With fantastic art from Brom. In this, the same image as the cover you can see there, but folded out across these big 4 pages. And this has, as GM screens go, this is a very good one. It's got some of the basic stuff on it, like how to take tests, how to, what are the different types of actions that you can take on your turn, how does combat work, how does damage work, which for the 2d20 system is a very good thing to have because it is not as straightforward as some other systems. It's also got some very system specific things, such as, let's see, right here, what you can spend momentum on. Over here in this other corner, what the Game Master can spend doom on. What are fortune points and how do those work? So all of that is on here as well, which is great. It also has some very Conan specific stuff, not just system specific, but Conan in particular. One of the things that I really like, it's got this thing right here of difficulty modifiers. And these are stuff like, for example, how does it modify a social test if you don't speak the same language as another person? Because the world of Conan has like 20 different languages that you're probably way more than that. Things like weather, things like how does random motion being on a horse, how does that affect you? Lighting, difficult terrain, things like that, which can, affect your story a lot, especially if you're in this kind of pulp style story of Conan. It also has a section here in the middle of hazards. And these are things like traps. There's a whole thing on the GM screen for, well, what if there's a booby trap? And what kind of a booby trap? What if there is a boulder that's going to roll down and crush you like Indiana Jones? What if you are on a sand dune and it collapses because there's a ruin underneath it? Like, those are not the kinds of things you would need in most games, but you do need them in Conan, and they're right here in the GM screen, which is awesome. It's also got a big section on renown right here on the last page. Zoing! Renown. How does renown work? Renown is your reputation, which again, for a Conan game is very important. When your characters arrive in a new city, a new village, a new army, how does your reputation, the glory that you've earned, the renown that you've achieved through your adventures, how does that affect the way that you interact with people? And then last of all, this fabulous little treasure table, which again is very Conan specific. It's got things on it like jewels and silver, and that makes sense. It also has fine clothing, olive oil, jugs of wine, bolts of silk, things that you are going to encounter if you're dealing with this kind of adventures in the desert and trade caravans and the kinds of things that Conan runs into all the time. So it's a very good GM screen with a lot of great information from the very broad to the very specific. So kudos to them for that. Arguably far more important than that is this little booklet, the actual toolkit itself. This is filled with a lot of really good stuff, though the vast majority of it is an adventure generator, which we are going to play with in a minute. But first, this game has a little section at the beginning. The toolkit has a section that talks about the pulp inspirations of Conan. What kinds of stories can you read as a game master or as a player to get into the spirit of it? How can a game master use those stories to develop their own adventures and their own campaigns? It's even got some specific techniques you can use. One of them in particular, like I was saying at the beginning, is how to start an adventure. Conan would usually just start in the middle of something. This gives you some actual practical advice on how to do that, where your characters just out of nowhere are suddenly dealing with a brand new thing. How do you begin in medias res, so to speak? It then has a neat little section here for how to use Doom and Momentum with examples. So it's not just, I mean, I think that a lot of game masters, when they first encounter the 2d20 system, they use Doom or Heat or Threat or, you know, whichever game they're playing. They use it mostly as a way of adding bad guys into a scene. And what this toolkit does is it gives a lot of practical advice and examples of how to use it to control the pacing of a scene. And sometimes that means that reinforcements show up. Sometimes it means that you are just adding in complications, or you're doing things, you're making things harder. It gives you several examples, like I've said. One of them is based on the Conan story, The Tower of the Elephant, which is about Conan breaking into this tower and stealing something. And so it says, for example, while, you know, Conan, or by extension your player characters, as they are sneaking up towards the tower, there's a huge garden outside that is filled with guards, and it's filled with things. And so what if, as you are trying to sneak past a bush, you can spend some Doom to make a bird suddenly get startled by them, some little animal that the player characters hadn't seen, and that might potentially alert some guards, and then that forces them to take some tests, and it adds to the drama of it. When they're climbing up the side of the tower, you could spend some Doom to make some of the roof tiles slip off, or, you know, one of the statues breaks or crumbles, and so then that, you know, their rope comes unhooked, or their fingers come unfingered, and they start to fall. And so you can use Doom in that way to make things harder, to add drama. It's a nice little section of the book. Then it has got, okay, so I don't know how well you can see this, but this whole big section here, the vast majority of the book is all just random tables from this point on. And it's got some neat ones. It has, for example, an interesting quirks table, which you roll 2d20 and you add them together, so they run across an NPC, and I roll, and I got a 13 and 8, that's a 21. So this person is covered in warts and boils. And then they'll immediately go, oh, that's the guy covered with warts and boils. Or then you need another one because they've just been jumped, and I just rolled 26. Persistently claims one-upmanship. That's just one tiny little thing, but it gives the GM something to kind of hang the characterization on for an NPC that they may not have planned ahead, because the characters did something you weren't ready for, and you're like, well, I need an NPC. Here's a table that will give you an interesting thing to make that NPC stand out. It's got some other neat stuff. It's got location tables. If you need a really interesting location for something to happen, or if you need an artifact, or if you need a creature of some kind, if you need a cult, like, and this, again, a very Conan thing, that out of the blue you're like, oh, I need a cult. Okay, the Black Seers of Mount Yimsha. So there you go, and you've got a cult. Now, as I said, the majority of this is actually an adventure generator. And we're going to go through and we're going to generate an adventure. So let's click on this button so you can see what we're doing here. And we are going to actually generate this entire adventure right here. And yes, unfingered is a good word. Thank you, Muddy. So all you need are the little D20s, and we're going to do this. It starts with a title. So our title structure, 2, the object on the object. So we roll on this object table twice. The crown, scepter, throne on the tribe, people, folk. Or of the, on the, let's see, the crown on the scepter on the people. How are we going to make this work? I don't know. This one's boring. The crown of the tribe, the scepter of the tribe. I kind of like that. Let's. I'm going to start over because that one I didn't like. The object, the entity in the location. Ooh, that's a good one. Here we go. Our entity is a 6, a monster. Pick, ghoul, dweller, serpent folk, abomination. We're going to. The entity, what did I say? In the location. Okay, and our entity is going to be some kind of a monster. And our location, let's roll that. 20, a crypt. The ghoul in the crypt. The, okay, I'm just going to come right up here and replace this with crypt. Abomination in the crypt is kind of a cool idea. The serpent in the crypt is also a cool idea. We're just going to say, we're going to replace this right here, and we will fill in what we want that monster to be later. Now, we have our opening scene, okay? This is a very robust adventure generator, and I have used it even for games that are not Conan. I've adapted it into other things, though it does a great job with Conan specifically. So we have the opening setting has 2 things, a setting and a descriptor. And so I just got 11 and 8, which gives us a hidden temple that is malodorous. A malodorous hidden temple. Okay. Okay. Now there is a group of non-player characters, potentially. We'll get back to that later if we need them. We're going to go straight to the hooks and the draws, okay? Again, this is 2 tables. We got a 15 and a 5, which gives us a priest or priestess. And then offered a fortune. Okay. I'm going to say a priest has offered a fortune. Well, in that case, we need to know the temperament of these NPCs. 6, they're friendly, a friendly priest. Has offered a fortune, and there is a religious tenets table, believe it or not, which will tell us what this priest is all about. If I can find it. Where's the religious tenets table? This is suddenly making it seem like it's not as awesome as I say it is. It is, just because I can't find the religious tenets table. There it is. Okay, 4. Jebal Sag. I don't remember off the top of my head who that is, but of Jebal Sag has offered a fortune. Sweet. And that is what is going to take us to this, we started this malodorous hidden temple. If we're in a malodorous hidden temple and someone is offering us a fortune, then I'm going to say that this is a hidden temple in a city somewhere, in a back alley of a large city. For whatever reason, we stumble in there and a friendly priest has offered a fortune. If we do a thing, what do we have to do? Here's where we get to plot concept, which is our next huge table here. So, plot concept. Roll 2 dice and we get a 20 and a 19. World domination motivated by an unpayable debt. Well then, this priest wants to take over the world. Characters aren't going to know that right off the bat. They just know that he's offered them a fortune to go somewhere. But the priest wants world domination because because of an, let's say motivated by an unpayable debt. Digging this. Now, who is the antagonist? Is it the priest or is it somebody else? We've got a table. Let's figure this out. 10 and 17, a tribal chieftain or a corrupt judiciary. I like that better because of the unpayable debt. So we've got corrupt judiciary who is psychotic. Wow. Antagonist. A corrupt judge. A corrupt psychotic judge. Boom. Okay. And plot fulfillment. Antagonist's requirement to fulfill plot. The antagonist has to... Ooh, okay. Needs the horn of a living dragon from a cursed and forgotten city. A corrupt psychotic judge needs the horn of a living dragon from a cursed and forgotten city. See, this is already starting to feel a lot like a Conan adventure, which is so cool. Okay, so this evil judge is trying to get the horn of a living dragon from a cursed and forgotten city because, we're going to change this, the judge wants world domination, okay? Because he wants to control the world. Because he has some kind of unpayable debt. Who does he have an unpayable debt to? Well, the person that started us on this thing is a priest. And so it's possible that there's just like an actual god or deity or otherworldly being that, you know, this person is a priest of. Maybe Jabal Sag, whoever the hell that is. We need to look that up. And in fact, let's do that right now because I'm curious. Jabal Sag. Is this... it's a type of religion in Conan Exiles. Oh, that's for the video game. I mean, I assume it exists outside of the bounds of the video game as well, right? A god worshipped during the Hyborian Age. Okay, so yes. So this is this judge has made some kind of a deal with this god, we're going to say, with Jabal Sag, the leader of the animal gods, and all of the other animal totems served him. Well, sweet. Okay. So this person has made a deal, gained some kind of power from this god, and cannot escape the deal they have made with this god. And so they are trying to get out of it by just kind of conquering the entire world. They are going to get this horn of a living dragon, and things are going to go great. So the priest calls the characters in and says, hey, you need to go stop this from happening because A, my god wants his soul, and B, we don't want the world to be taken over by this evil judge. So everything's coming together. Now, on the obstacles and twists table, we just got an 18 and a 19, which means there are problems with the authorities. Oh, no. Strange malady that requires the antagonist's plot fulfillment to cure. Ooh, okay. Obstacles and twists. There is a strange malady out there in the world that can only be cured by what? By stopping the judge. That's how he's going to take over the world, is he's found a way to unleash some kind of a plague, maybe that will turn people into zombies, or that will in some other way make them pliable or subservient or just easily conquerable. Okay? And then we also rolled an 18 on the plot twists. The player characters are working for the real villain and the antagonist is trying to stop them. Oh my gosh! I like that, but I'm not going to do it in this case. We're going to re-roll that one. 16, cut off and left adrift. The group's supporters fall strangely silent and no longer provide support. Okay, so here we go. Here's our obstacle. So the characters are going to be struck with a strange malady while trying to stop this, but also at some point the characters are abandoned by the priest and his followers. Why? We don't know yet. Okay, we have goals and objectives. The character goal here in this case is this. 19. To infiltrate. Oh! What? To infiltrate. Ooh, and then their objective is an artifact. So we can figure out what this is. Goal. To infiltrate something. And then objective. An artifact. And there are tables for those as well. Personal objectives. Okay. To infiltrate a mercenary band. Why? Clearly because a mercenary band that the evil judge has hired to help get the dragon horn. Sweet. And then the artifact that they're looking for is, and there's two tables here, descriptor and condition. This is a religious icon, and it is toxic. Digging it. Okay, and it also has us roll on that religious tenets table again. We got Jebel Sag. Okay, so the priest, we need to get a religious icon of Jebel Sag that is toxic. This is really poisonous. We already have a disease, and then we have to go and get this thing, which I assume is going to reverse the plague and allow us to stop all the people that we need to stop. So this is, let's do this. Let's say the dragon in the crypt. Okay, see? I knew that if we waited, then our monster would fill itself in. So this gives us a fantastic adventure, right? We know who the bad guy is. We know that we start, in the back alley of some huge city, and that we find this nasty, stinky temple, maybe filled with animals or whatever, and we go in there, and this priest says, you have to go do this thing. You have to go and find this powerful religious artifact of this god. You have to find his statue or his symbol or his amulet or whatever it is, and you have to use it to defeat this corrupt judge that's trying to steal a dragon horn and take over the world. And in the process of doing that, the only way to do it is to infiltrate that judge's own mercenary band that he's hired to help him steal the thing. So you're working very closely with him the whole time, trying to keep your motivations hidden, trying to do all this stuff. And then, you need to get this artifact and you need to keep it. You also need to not die of this plague. And then in the end, there's going to be a huge showdown with an actual dragon and possibly also with this judge. And so that's a fantastic adventure. That sounds great. I really love what this adventure generator can do. There are so many little pieces of it. And as you saw here when I was going through, I kept the roles I liked. I discarded the roles I didn't like. I came up with something that I have never come up with before. I use this adventure generator all the time. It's never given me anything remotely like this particular story. So it's very powerful. You can do a lot of neat stuff with it. So let's go back here so you can see my smiling face. I really like the Conan game, and I especially really like this Conan toolkit. The GM screen is incredibly useful, and the little toolkit booklet is a very powerful tool that GMs will be grateful to have. It is practically, because of the robust utility of that adventure generator, it's practically a campaign book all by itself, and very Conan-esque in that you can play these little episodes that don't necessarily relate to each other. You can add in an overarching plot if you want. You can mix and match. You can do stuff. You can jump around. It's really great. So anyway, that is it. And I hope that you have enjoyed this review, and I hope that you get a chance to try the Conan role-playing game and its toolkit. Thanks for watching. I will see you on my next review.